Could you all please rise for the Deputy Lord Mayor of Perth, Mr Bruce Reynolds.
Thank you, Sue. At 5 p.m. I'd also like to make an acknowledgement. I respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which we meet, the Whadjuk Noongar people, and pay my respects to elders past and present. It's a privilege to be standing on Whadjuk Noongar country. CEO, can you please recite the prayer?
Almighty God, under whose providence we hold responsibility for this city, grant us wisdom to understand its present needs, foresight to anticipate its future growth, and grace to serve our fellow citizens with integrity and selfless devotion. And to thee be all blessing and glory forever. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Okay. Okay, that sounds a little bit better this week. Please note that in accordance to Local Government Act 1995, this meeting is being live streamed and the recording will be made available on the city's website following the meeting. Item 3 is attendance. In attendance today, I'd like to acknowledge the following councillors in alphabetical order: Councillor Clyde Bevan, Councillor Raj Doshi, Councillor David Gonsalves, Councillor Leon Gobbett, Councillor Victor Coe, Councillor Catherine Leeser and Councillor Steve Wellard. In addition, I would like to welcome all the officers and administration and the members of public who are here in attendance. Item 3.1, leave of absence. As we have no apologies, the following we do have a leave of absence, which is the Lord Mayor Basil Zemflis, who is on approved leave of absence. Applications for leave of absence. We have received one application for leave of absence, which is Councillor Liam Gobbett, for the period of 7th of March 2025 to the 24th of March 2025 inclusive. Do any elected members have applications for leave from the floor?
Thanks, DLM. I just want to apply for leave from the 10th of March till the 5th of May.
Thank you, Councillor. Will someone please move a motion to approve the leave of absence? Can I have someone for? Councillor Wellard. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Doshi. Thank you. With that, the Council approves the following leave of absence applications. Number 1, Councillor Liam Gobbett for the period of 7th of March 2025 to the 24th of March 2025 inclusive, and Councillor Victor Coe from the 10th of March to the 5th, was it the 5th? 5th of May 2025 inclusive. Thank you, that is approved. Oh, sorry, we will need to put that to a vote. Those that are voting for? Okay, thank you, that's carried. Thank you. Okay. Acknowledgements. Can the elected members please acknowledge that you've had sufficient time to read and consider the agenda items presented this evening? Okay, thank you. I'd also like to remind everyone that to ensure appropriate concentration, to refrain from using mobile phones with the exception of emergencies. If you do need to make a phone call or send a text, please remove yourself from the chamber. And then the other thing is, councillors can please ensure that you try to keep your mobile phones away from the microphone so we can minimise interference with the microphones. Item 4, announcements by the Deputy Lord Mayor. Okay, where are we? Where have I put it? That'll be right, I might have left it upstairs, which is not going to be good. Can I read that one? There it is. Yeah, cool. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a busy start to the year since the last OCM in December, and some of the many highlights including hosting a large delegation from our Italian sister city Vasto, which obviously is strengthening our sister city relationships. On February the 13th, we hosted the Urban Forest Conference and the Perth Inner City Group. This insightful conference was also an opportunity to highlight our tree-first approach in combating the shot hole borer, and a chance to acknowledge the dedication of our arbour staff, who are not just leading efforts in our city, but also assisting with nearby council to protect vulnerable trees. Of course, our Lord Mayor announced his leave of absence, which has been well documented. I personally have been serving here in council full-time in his absence, and I want to express my appreciation for his support during this transition. It's a demanding role, but one we are embracing with enthusiasm. We also welcome Tim Watts, the Director of Gell Architects, who presented the Gell's initial findings for the Towards 2036 project, and we look forward to the final report card later this year. The City events calendar has been in full swing, reaffirming our commitment for being the capital city of events. The list is long, but among those that we proudly have supported include Fringe Festival and Perth Festival, which continues to bring vibrancy to our city. The Christmas Lights Trail, fireworks, New Year's Eve celebrations, Australia Day and Berwick concert attracted hundreds of thousands of people, demonstrating the city's ability to host world-class events that bring people together. And most recently, we also celebrated the Chinese Lunar New Year, marking the Year of the Snake, with a fortnight of festivities. Now, alongside with all positive news, I also wanted to address a significant community concern, and that concern is the rise of antisocial behaviour in public spaces. Over recent weeks, residents have raised serious concerns about the increase in disruptive and unsafe behaviour in Wellington Square and Victoria Gardens. Issues such as public drinking, drug use, violence, excessive profanity and noise have led to widespread frustration over the lack of effective intervention. Many residents have provided ample evidence, particularly on the East Perth community social pages via videos and photos. And as expected, a fair amount of criticism has been directed towards the council and elected members. And while most residents understand this is primarily a state government and policing issue, there still remains the perception the city is not doing enough, and there is frustration with that being a response. It is important that we show leadership and ensure the community is aware of all the work we are doing behind the scenes. And recently the city hosted a meeting with senior WA Police, Minister John Carey and community members and myself and the CEO to discuss this issue in detail. And the key takeaways were as follows. WA Police are committed to increasing enforcement, including tipping out of alcohol where required, issuing move-on notices and having liquor enforcement units monitor the alcohol providers with breach regulations. The state government is expanding its cultural outreach and health engagement teams, extending the Return to Country program, and is seeking additional funding to further support these services. The city has increased ranger patrols, surveillance monitoring and cleaning efforts, while also actively engaging with affected groups to collect intelligence and support police efforts. WA Police emphasise the urgent need for residents to formally report incidents rather than just posting on social media is very important. Community complaints must be lodged to assist in data collection and resource allocation. While residents have voiced frustration about long wait times and difficulties lodging complaints, so this remains critical to securing police resources. While these initiatives are ongoing, the situation remains and further intervention is required. With this in mind, at next month's Ordinary Council meeting, I'll be bringing forward a motion directing administration to urgently engage with WA Police, the Department of Communities and relevant state agencies to explore additional measures, and they may include investigating the feasibility of trialling a nighttime park restrictions, for example, from 10 p.m. to 5 p.m. as a last resort measure to reduce antisocial behaviour and enhance public safety. Developing a coordinated enforcement strategy, ensuring that city rangers conduct a sweep of affected parks with police enforcement at the designated restriction times. Assessing the legal, operational and community implications of such restrictions, including the city's authority to enforce them, and reporting back to council with a recommended approach. And lastly, investigating reporting procedures to make them more efficient and easier for residents to use. The specific details of these restrictions will be refined as if we progress. We acknowledge that this issue is seasonal and that our parks are for everyone. However, we cannot tolerate alcohol-fuelled antisocial behaviour, and we must take a stronger stance to enforce community standards. Implementing nighttime park restrictions could be a targeted enforcement approach that could provide an immediate solution to restore public safety and reduce disorderly behaviour. This would not prevent people from walking through the parks after 10 p.m, but it would prohibit camping and large congregation throughout the night. It may not need to be a long-term solution, but the detail is part of that feasibility. I recognise this is both a sensitive issue and a public safety issue, and the city must take a proactive leadership role in finding practical, immediate solutions while continue to advocate for long-term state government-led action. Earlier this month, I sent a letter to the Premier acknowledging that the state government is in caretaker mode, but seeking to secure support for stronger intervention to address antisocial behaviour into the future. This motion is intended to resource an investigation on how the city can effectively advocate the state government and WA Police with WA Police support. It's something that we need to explore in a practical approach, but we also have to do it together. So I look forward to discussing this further in March. So apologies for the dialogue, but it's something I felt we had to do. Moving on to item 5, disclosures of interests. Item 5 on the agenda is disclosures of interest. CEO, please detail the interests which have been disclosed.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. The following interests have been disclosed. Councillor Steve Wellard has disclosed an indirect financial interest in item 11.1 as Roy Hill Hancock is a customer of Wabtec Corporation, of which he is employed. Councillor Catherine Leeser has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 2. An adjacent property is on the Heritage State Register for consistency and completeness. She is a councillor on the Heritage Council of WA. Councillor Liam Gobbett has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 16.1 as he attended Lightscape 2023 in his capacity as the Deputy Lord Mayor representing the city. He also attended Lightscape 2024 in accordance with the attendance at events policy. No association has been formed and this represents an impartiality interest only. Councillor Catherine Leeser has disclosed an indirect financial interest in relation to item 16.2 as she has recently written a consulting report for Lawson Apartments SP 14674. You have disclosed a proximity interest in item 16.2 as you own property next door to 178 Aberdeen Street, Northbridge, which is the subject of a grant application. Councillor Catherine Leeser has disclosed a proximity interest in item 16.2 as she has been given differing advice regarding disclosures and it seems prudent to adhere to the most conservative of these and disclose the same interest as Deputy Lord Mayor Bruce Reynolds. Councillor Catherine Leeser has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 16.2 for consistency and completeness as she is a councillor on the Heritage Council of WA. Councillor Raj Doshi has disclosed a direct financial interest in item 16.2 as she is an owner-occupier in the strata scheme at 189 Adelaide Terrace and a heritage grant application has been made by the Strata Council. Councillor Raj Doshi has disclosed a direct financial interest in item 17.2 as she is an owner-occupier in the strata scheme at 189 Adelaide Terrace and a question relating to tree roots on private land at this address was raised at the elected general meeting. Councillor Liam Gobbett has disclosed an impartiality interest in item 17.2 as, in relation to recommendation 5, staff and board members of Pride WA are known to him personally and he is a financial member of Pride WA. In relation to recommendation 6, his residence abuts the Plain Street car park, however this represents an impartiality interest only. Councillor Catherine Leeser has disclosed an indirect financial interest in item 20.3 as she has recently contracted Civic Legal to carry out some legal work. And finally, Councillor Stephen Wellard has disclosed an interest in 17.2 electors meeting item motion 4 as he has an address 142 James Street, Northbridge, and he is a member of Pride WA and friends of a number of Pride WA board members. It is an impartiality interest. Thank you.
Lord Mayor, Deputy Lord Mayor rather, would I be able to declare an interest?
Just getting on to that right now. Well done. Preempted. Are there any questions? Thank you very much, CEO. Do any elected members have any disclosures of interest from the floor?
Thanks, and I apologise for submitting this late, but an impartiality relating to 7.2, recommendation 5. I'm a financial member of Pride WA and the board and staff are known to me.
Thank you, and noted. Item 6.4, responses to public questions previously taken on notice. There were no questions taken on notice in the Ordinary Council meeting on the 10th of December 2024. Moving to item 6.2, public question time. So before we address public question times, I'd like to put out the rules. Generally what we have is in our standing orders, we allow 15 minutes in total for public question times. Today, however, I'm advised there are 7 members of the public with submitted questions and 30 questions. So I don't think it would be reasonable to expect we'll get through that in 15 minutes. So in order to try and give a fair and equal opportunity for people to ask questions in the chamber tonight, I've decided that each person who has submitted questions with more than 24 hours notice will be given 3 minutes to ask their questions. The administration will then respond to all the questions asked. Any remaining questions will be responded to in the minutes of the meeting as per the usual process. Questions received with more than 24 hours notice will be responded to first. And for those of you who submitted your questions in the last 24 hours, your questions will be included in the minutes of this meeting and a response will be provided in the agenda in the next Ordinary Council meeting. With that, CEO, have any questions been received with more than 24 hours notice?
Yes, Deputy Lord Mayor, 7 members of the public have submitted public questions.
Thank you. With that, I now invite Christopher Farrelly to step forward. Please state your name, suburb, and proceed with your question. Okay, it doesn't look like Christopher's here, so Christopher's questions and responses will be provided into the minutes of this meeting. I would now like to invite John Morrison to step forward. John, can you please step forward with state your name and your suburb and proceed with your questions.
John Morrison from 181 Adelaide Terrace, plus with all my roots that support me. My question, memory serves me right, just relates to asking whether it's going to be a visit by any engineers to come and have a look at first hand at the tree roots that are integrating not only 181 but 189 Adelaide Terrace. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question, John. It's great to see you. Through to you, CEO.
If I could invite the General Manager, Infrastructure and Operations to respond, please.
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Lord Mayor, and thank you, John, for the question. The city today held a meeting with the engineers responsible for the design of the basement of the premises that you are responding to right now. And at that meeting, we discussed matters around groundwater management, the stormwater system, and tree root intrusion. Following this meeting today, we will arrange an inspection with yourselves, and all our findings and advice will then be passed on to the strata management company for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, GM. I will now invite Philip Higgs to please step forward. Hello, Philip. Can you please state your name and suburb and proceed with your questions?
Philip Higgs. I live in Bennett Street, East Perth. I think some of these answers you've already given to myself and my colleagues here, but I will ask the question again. Please, can the council advise the measures they will undertake to ensure that the Wellington Square Children's Playground is a safe place for children and their families? This includes how they will ensure that the playground and surrounds are free from broken glass and syringes. In addition, that areas are also free from urine and faeces from people who are toileting in the park rather than public toilets. Just one more, I'd like to add something. In several years' time, there will be a primary school, I imagine. We do have to get on top of this now. God forbid kids walking through that are subjected to bullying, drug taking. I'm looking forward to March. That's all I can say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for that, Philip. I'll pass through to the CEO if you'd like to address.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. Could I invite the General Manager Community Development to respond, please?
Thank you, Philip, for your question. Through Deputy Lord Mayor, if I can address the current measures in place. With regard to cleaning, each morning prior to 7:30am, staff attend the playground and undertake a clean-up and litter pick-up, including the removal of sharps if required. Furthermore, Monday through Friday, an afternoon cleaning sweep occurs. A visual inspection of all play elements is completed and the sand play area is hand-raked to remove any foreign objects. On a fortnightly basis, a comprehensive audit of the playground is undertaken and high-pressure cleaning occurs on an as-needs basis. Graffiti staff attend twice weekly to address any graffiti and assess that. With regard to safety, we have increased and sequenced multi-agency patrols that are occurring for the Wellington Square area, including the playground. This includes 2 patrols per day by WA Police and City Rangers and attendance daily by Department of Communities. Cultural outreach services operate at this and other locations across the city under the direction of Department of Communities. And they are in attendance at various locations Tuesday to Thursday, 12pm to 8pm, Friday and Saturday, 12pm to 8pm and 3pm to 10pm. In addition, the City Watch Surveillance Centre maintains 24/7 coverage of the city through its network of cameras, including those in Wellington Square. City Watch officers undertake regular camera sweeps throughout the day and night and report issues to the police and/or they task city teams, for example, our rangers and our waste and cleaning teams, to attend depending on the nature of the issues. The city has further supplemented existing fixed CCTV in the area with a mobile CCTV unit and virtual messaging board to encourage reporting. The WA Police is the responsible agency in terms of antisocial and disorderly behaviour, assaults, public consumption of alcohol, drug and criminal damage. And in this regard, 2 WA police officers are also permanently embedded within our City Watch Surveillance Centre. Noting that these matters have also been raised and are being raised with Minister John Carey, the City hosted a meeting with the East Perth Community Group, Minister Carey, the Deputy Lord Mayor as noted, and the CEO on the 11th of February to discuss these matters more fully. And we have sought additional actions such as increased patrols and presence with those agencies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Philip, I'll probably just add to that very quickly. You can see how much work the city administration are putting into this and the council are putting into resourcing this. And the councillors are fully aware and concerned as much as anyone. So I hope that answer that sort of helped with your question. So thank you very much. I would now like to invite Gregory Halloran to please step forward. Gregory, please state your name and your suburb and proceed with your questions.
I'm Gregory Halloran. I'm representing Pride WA as Secretary of the Board. Suburb for Pride WA is Northbridge. This is in relation to Agenda Item 17.2, Recommendation 5B for the premises or office space of the premises at 142 James Street. Will the administration of the city ensure that proposed EOI process for the Piazza office space at 142 James Street is conducted on a non-commercial basis for usage by community organisations, makes any assessment criteria available to all interested parties and expedites the process swiftly so as not to disadvantage the ongoing operations of Pride WA? Will the final decision regarding the space be endorsed and require approval by a council motion and decision? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question, Gregory. I'll pass that through to the CEO.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. If I could invite the General Manager Commercial Services to respond, please.
Thank you through the Deputy Lord Mayor. Thank you for the question. The property is classified as community purpose. The EOI and tender documentation will specify the assessment criteria and the city will endeavour to complete the entire process by 31 July 2025. The final decision will be made by the administration under delegated authority.
Thank you, GM. Thank you for the response. And again, Gregory, thank you for your question. I would now like to invite David Lim to please step forward. David, please state your name and suburb. And I'll just remind you, David, 3 minutes to answer your question. So it's great to see you.
Okay. My name is David Lim and Perth, WA, 6,000. as you know, I've got multiple questions with multiple parts, so 3 minutes. So I have to choose which questions to ask. I see number 1 has been addressed in your opening statement, Deputy Lord Mayor. On my second question, Attachment F, Alliance Operating Variances, touches on various instances of position vacancies, fully staffed teams and higher duty requirements. With the new academic year starting for TAFE and university students, A, what pathways can students follow to develop a career working for the City of Perth? And B, what partnership does the City have between specialised departments in educational institutions and City Alliance divisions to foster talent and innovation?
Thank you. David, that's all of your questions, I take it?
No.
All right. So, yeah, probably best to power on all your questions to get them all through.
So all
Yeah,
read
that way
all of
we'll
them?
get through them all in 3 minutes,
right.
hopefully.
Okay. It is listed that $24,500 was spent on a Destination Perth partnership with City of Vincent. What activities and promotions are covered by this partnership? Next question, with regards to media advertising, it is listed that Omnicom Media Group was paid $567.24 for firebreak notice in the Voice newspaper, and in late December, $58,368.13 was paid for summer campaign, tender advertising, statutory advertising, and the West Australian specific pieces. Part A, what budget does the media advertising come from? Part B, what is statutory advertising and can this appear in the Post newspaper? Next question, with regards to the project decrease of $291,000 attributed to the UWA QE2 precinct plan not being proceeded by the City, Part A, how are these funds being reallocated? Can they be used to address increased awareness on planning policies, applications, approvals and developments currently in the Crawley Nellens neighbourhood? Part B, having reached the 7th-month mark of an 18 to 24th month development process of the improvement scheme for the UWA QE2 Specialised Activity Centre, what timeframe has the state government given in any briefings for the commencement of community consultation? And my last question is with regards to livable component of a community business plan. There was a elected motion, members' motion in the City of Subiaco Ordinary Council meeting last week with regards to incorporating part of West Perth into the City of Subiaco. What feedback or inquiries has the City received about such a move, changing boundary resulting in amending the City of Perth Act 2016? Further commentary refers to an annual market community scorecard received by the City of Subiaco. What was the last market survey undertaken by the City, and are there plans to obtain such feedback? And Part C, in the context of future elected members' motions, what meeting opportunities do the City's elected members have with neighbouring council elected members to discuss management of state issues crossing the city boundaries? Yep, so...
David, well done. With that flurry of questions, you did miss question 6 and question 3. Did you want to quickly run through those again?
You
have time.
We do have time? Okay, so...
We've got 20 seconds, but I'm pretty sure the way you got through all those, that'll be plenty of time.
Okay. Regarding the City's memberships of groups such as the Council of Capital City Local Mayors, Perth's Inner City Group and Committee for Perth and Australian British Chamber of Commerce, what benefits does the City derive from being part of these groups? What advocacy has been achieved from engaging with these groups? And the last question is regarding the tourist attraction, the Blue Boat House, $2,695 was spent on brick paving along the Mounts Bay Road shared path nearby. How is the City monitoring the safety of visitor activity around the area? And what ways is the City working with the State Government and WA Police to monitor patronage of this attraction?
Phew, auctioneer in the making. Just for a bit of clarity for those in the gallery, because obviously that was a bit of a blur. So administration have had an opportunity to address those questions, and the questions which will be answered now will also be provided in the minutes of the meeting. So if there's anything that sort of piqued your interest, you do certainly have time to go back and have a read through David's questions with a bit more time and approach a bit of clarity, and you will see the response that the administration will be giving. So with that in mind, through to you, the CEO.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. So in relation to item 15.1, monthly financial statements, if I could invite the Executive Director, Governance and Strategy to respond to question 1.
Thank you. And through the CEO, So this question related to the city's membership of groups such as the CCCLM, Perth Inner City Group and Committee for Perth and the Australian British Chamber of Commerce, and the benefits and the advocacy that's been achieved. So the City of Perth has a special social, economic, cultural, environmental and civic role that it plays because Perth is the capital city of Western Australia and has an important role in representing the broader Perth area of the state of Western Australia on both a national and international level. This unique role is enshrined in the City of Perth Act. Through its membership in the Council of Capital City Lord Mayors, Perth Inner City Group and other membership organisations, it is able to advance its interests, shape public policy and strategy, and collaborate with those organisations and groups with a vested interest. By way of example, more recently, the City participated in a pre-federal election submission as part of its membership of the CCCLM and is progressing key projects at a regional level through the Perth Inner City Group to promote the Perth region as a destination, but also provide business continuity services for the local government if the need ever arises, and explore opportunities for a more integrated response on e-scooters and road safety. Thank you.
And if I could ask the Chief Financial Officer to respond to question 2 in relation to item 15.1, monthly financial statements. Or if the General Manager Corporate Services would prefer to answer.
The CFO may prefer I answer. And thank you for your question through you, Deputy Lord Mayor. This question related to academic pathways and workforce pathways within the city. And I can advise that the city provides work experience opportunities for students at a secondary, post-secondary and tertiary level. The city has a history of partnering with universities and providing a range of positions, including graduate positions, apprenticeships, work experience and internships in a range of professional areas, including information management, ICT, community development, catering, horticulture, vehicle mechanics, environmental health, work health and safety, engineering and urban planning. The city also partners with not-for-profit agencies to provide work experience for people living with a disability. And additionally, the city provides a study assistance program to enable its own staff to improve professional and trade qualifications in alignment with operational need and personal career aspirations within the city. The city also enables that specialist areas within the organisation maintain professional networks which include engagement and or formal partnerships with relevant educational institutions to achieve the outcomes that were given in answer to your question A, part A of your question. And this enables the city to engage in leading research and innovation, as well as to foster opportunities to bring new talent into the organisation. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very much, General Manager. And now in relation to question 3, which is in relation to the tourist attraction of the Blue Boat House. And if I could invite the General Manager, Community Development, to respond to that question, please.
Thank you. Through the Deputy Lord Mayor, with regard to the Blue Boat House, the question A regarding monitoring safety. The City of Perth, through the community safety team that includes our Safe City Rangers, patrol the area in conjunction with WA Police. We also utilise and review various strategies that include placement of mobile CCTV assets where possible and virtual messaging boards to promote safety in the area and deter crime. In relation to question B, that is answered as per question A. Thank you.
If I could now invite the General Manager, Engagement and Activation, to answer question 4, which is in relation to item 15.2, accounts paid.
Sorry, through you, Deputy
Lord Mayor. The partnership is with Destination Perth and other members of the Perth Inner City Group, including the Town of Victoria Park, the City of Vincent and the City of South Perth. The partnership runs for 12 months and follows the MOU signed by the mayors from each local government to encourage more interstate visitation to the city. The agreement includes blogs, websites, updates and content and 12 months of social media content promoting the inner city. Excuse me.
Thank you, General Manager. And now on to question 5, General Manager Engagement and Activation again.
Yes, thank you very much, and thanks again for the question, David. Through you again, Deputy Lord Mayor. I'll answer this in 2 parts. Firstly, Part A, media advertising is paid for from the several parts of the city's budget. The summer campaign referred to came from the marketing budget. Statutory, and Part B, statutory advertising refers to the local and statewide public notice as required under the Local Government Act 1995. A newspaper circulating in the district, such as the Post newspaper, is one way in which the local public notice can be given. However, the distribution for this newspaper is limited compared to newspapers circulating throughout the state. The city aims to maximise the amount of exposure to ratepayers when given a local and statewide public notice. Thank you.
Thank you. And now on to question 6. If I could invite this time the Chief Financial Officer to respond.
Thank you very much. And that's through the Chair. The response to the question is that whenever funds are not required for a specific project, the budget review process needs to be conducted in accordance with the best outcomes for the city as a whole. It's not possible to quarantine funds specifically for a particular neighbourhood. That practice is actually prohibited under Local Government Financial Management Regulation number 7, which relates to ward accounting.
Thank you very much, CFO. And now on to question 7 in relation to item 15.4, the Corporate Business Plan. If I could invite the Executive Director, Governance and Strategy to respond, please.
Thank you, CEO, and through the Deputy Lord Mayor. This is a 3-part response. So the first part related to a district boundary motion that was put forward by a Subiaco councillor. So the city had not received any feedback or inquiries regarding a district boundary change. It is noted, however, the Subiaco councillor withdrew the motion prior to the meeting. So the motion was therefore not considered by Subiaco Council. The next part relates to the community scorecard undertaken by Market. So the last Market community scorecard undertaken by the city was in August 2020 as part of the major review of the strategic community plan. The city undertakes community engagement regularly related to specific initiatives or projects. The city will be undertaking a comprehensive community engagement exercise in the lead up to the next major review of the strategic community plan in 25-26. The last part of that question related to opportunities for the city's elected members to have with the neighbouring council elected members to discuss management of state issues crossing city boundaries. So the city is part of a Perth inner city group comprising CEOs and mayors from Perth, Vincent, South Perth, Subiaco and Victoria Park who meet regularly and collaborate on issues of shared interest. Under the City of Perth Act, there's a requirement for the Premier to convene a meeting twice yearly in order to discuss the special social, economic, cultural, environmental and civic role that the City of Perth plays, because Perth is the capital of Western Australia, and the important role that the City of Perth plays in representing the broader Perth area and the state of Western Australia on both a national and international level. Unfortunately, the Premier has not called a meeting since 21st of August 2023, despite several requests from the City. Thank you.
Well done, David. Thank you. That's all your questions now answered.
Questions. Yeah, thanks very much.
Appreciate your time and coming down and putting that effort in. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'd like to invite Stuart Chapman to please step forward. Stuart, can you please state your name and suburb and proceed with your questions? Again, a reminder that you have 3 minutes to ask your questions. Fire away. Thank you.
Yes, Stuart Chapman, and I have a property in West Perth at Malcolm Street. I'll start with question 13. Given that the findings of the City of Perth inquiry found that past decisions and deliberations were often taken behind the scenes and did not provide the public a full opportunity to engage, what substantive changes has the administration made to ensure that questions made by elected members can be asked verbally at council and responded in kind so that the public may truly follow these discussions in a public setting? Question 14. Last year I discovered as a result of an FOI release video, a council ranger made a formal request that I be tailed home by other council staff. I have provided a clip of the incident. Could this video clip now be played so that the councillors and members of the public can see this request for me to be followed home? Question 15. Does the council have a crack team trained in covert surveillance who tail members of the public so that they can secretly obtain their home address? Question 16. Was council resources used to tail me home to discover my home address? Question 1. On the 26th of July 24, I received an email from governance which stated, please note that public question time provided at public meetings of council is intended for members of the public to ask questions of council. Considering that questions from the public are addressed to council, when did it become the administration's practice that the CEO answered these questions without allowing councillors to even see the questions, let alone provide an opportunity for councillors to provide comment to the CEO response before the council meeting? Question 2. Has the council ever set policy on the way answers are provided by the administration? And if not, does any legislation or otherwise govern the way this is handled? Question 3. Was this decision not to allow the elected members to see the public questions made by the elected members and voted upon, or was it made by the CEO and the Lord Mayor alone? Question 4. If a councillor disagrees with or does not believe the CEO has adequately responded to a public question, what steps can they take to address the situation? I'll skip to question 8. Can the City please confirm that the Lord Mayor has never provided input or shaped the CEO responses, whether verbally or written, to public questions? Question 10. How will the current Lord Mayor comply with the order to apologise at the next council meeting if he is elected at the state election? And will the administration ensure an apology is forthcoming, and how will they do that? Question 11. Do the practices of restricting the full participation of elected members of public questions, either by convention, culture or practice, fly in the face of the recommendations in the final resolution of the City of Perth inquiry? Question 12. Has the City of Perth fully implemented the recommendations regarding openness, transparency and accountability with regards to the City of Perth inquiry? I'll go back and ask questions 5, I think I was up to. Can a councillor question the CEO's response to a public question on the night of a council meeting and ask for clarification? Question 6, if a member of the public does not believe that a response from the CEO answers their questions adequately at the council meeting, are they permitted to ask a follow-up question? Question 7, is the council aware of any procedures used by other local councils to enable greater participation of elected councillors in public questions? If so, what do other local councils do? And I see my time's up.
Thank you very much, Stuart. And again, great to see you. One quick point I'll make is we do know what your address is because you stated when you come up, but that's by the by. What I'll do is I'll pass you through to the CEO for responses to your question. And again, great to see you again.
Thank you very much, Deputy Lord Mayor. If I could invite the Executive Director, Governance and Strategy to ask all the questions excepting, I think, question 9. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CEO, and through the Deputy Lord Mayor. The first question relates to an email received from Governance. As previously advised on the 24th of December 2024, individual elected members do not answer public questions. Council relies on the administration to provide a response through the Lord Mayor. Elected members may offer a contribution to the response in the chamber or request clarification or amendment to any responses provided in the minutes of a meeting when they are adopted or confirmed by Council. Question 2. This relates to, has Council ever set policy on the way answers are provided by the administration? Public question time for the public at meetings is dealt with in section 5.24 of the Local Government Act and its subsidiary legislation. Question 3. Was this decision to not allow the elected members to see the public questions made by the elected members and voted upon? So that relates to that question. Regulation 14 of the Local Government Administration Regulations provides that any information to be tabled at a meeting of council must be made available to the public at the same time that it is made available to members of council. By presenting public questions at the meeting, they are made available to both council members and the public at the same time as required. Question 4. So if a councillor disagrees with or does not believe the CEO has adequately responded to a public question, what steps can they take to address the situation? That's been responded to through question 1's response. Question 5. Can a councillor question the CEO's response to a public question on the night of a council meeting and ask for clarification? Again, that was answered by question 1. Question 6, if a member of the public does not believe that a response from the CEO actually answers their question adequately at the council meeting, are they permitted to ask follow-up questions? The person presiding at the meeting will determine. In addition, if you would like to ask a question of the Chief Executive Officer or the administration, you may submit questions at any time through the City's customer service team, and there's a link on the website for that. Question 7, is the council aware of any procedures used by other local councils to enable greater participation of elected members in public questions? No. Question 8, can the City please confirm that the Lord Mayor has never provided input or shaped the CEO's responses? As advised via email on the 24th of December 2024, the Lord Mayor is not provided with the information for the purposes of contribution or review, but to determine how to give each questioner an equal and fair opportunity to ask a question as required by the regulations. Question 9, are there any procedures or processes that govern the Lord Mayor's involvement or otherwise in the administration's answers to public questions? No. Question 10, how will the current Lord Mayor comply with the order to apologise at the next council meeting if he's elected at the state election? Will the administration ensure an apology is forthcoming, and how will they do that? The City declines to speculate on events that may or may not occur. If a council member fails to comply with the terms of an order by the Standards Panel, the City of Perth's Chief Executive Officer is required to refer the failure to the State's Administrative Tribunal. The next question relates to practices of restricting the full participation of elected members of public questions. And the relationship to the resolution of the City of Perth inquiry, the final resolution of the City of Perth inquiry. Recommendation 341 is the final recommendation of the inquiry into the City of Perth. It provides a mechanism for accountability and transparency for actions to address the matters identified in the inquiry. The City reported on the status of implementation of the inquiry recommendations every quarter to Council, the Department of Local Government, Sport and Cultural Industries, and to the Minister for Local Government. Furthermore, evidence to validate completion of every recommendation was provided to the Department. The City is pleased now to have completed all inquiry recommendations assigned to it. Question 12, has the City of Perth fully implemented all recommendations regarding openness, transparency and accountability with regards to the inquiry? Yes. Question 13, given that the findings of the inquiry found past decisions and deliberations were often taken behind the scenes and do not provide the public a full opportunity to engage, what changes has the administration made to ensure the questions made by elected members can be asked verbally at Council and responded in kind so that the public may truly follow these decisions in a public setting? Questions asked by elected members at meetings are captured in the live stream and the recordings are available on the City's website. In addition, all questions asked by elected members and the response provided are included in the further information section for each report on the agenda for a council meeting.
Thank you very much, Executive Director. And if I could now invite the General Manager, Community Development, to answer question 14, question 15 and question 16. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the Deputy Lord Mayor, just in relation to the question regarding a request to play a video clip now, the answer is no. The presiding member does not support presentations being made by members of the public in the council chamber. Question 15 regarding covert surveillance to obtain home addresses, the answer is no. And question 16 regarding council resources to tail someone home, the answer is no. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And again, Stuart, great to see you and thank you for your questions. I'll now move to invite Tane Evershep to please step forward. Tane, if you're here, please state your name and suburb and proceed with your questions. Okay, Tane's questions and responses will be provided in the minutes of this meeting. CEO, that brings us to the end of our questions. Have any other public questions been received prior or at this meeting?
Yes, Deputy Lord Mayor, one question has been received from Jason Bowe in the last 24 hours.
Thank you, CEO. The question and the answer will be included in the minutes of this meeting and response will be provided in the agenda at the next Ordinary Council meeting. In accordance with the Local Government Administration Regulations 1996, as the person presiding at this meeting, I can confirm that the members of the public have been given equal and fair opportunity to ask questions as provided for in the local standing orders.
I had a second question which I was asking in a separate role to the first question, so I assumed it would be listed twice.
No problem at all. Yeah, do you want to just quickly... Yeah, of course you can. Can you repeat that? You had plenty of time up your sleeve, so apologies for that.
Thank you very much, Deputy Lord Mayor. This question is being asked in my role as co-chair of the LGBTQIA+ advisory group to the City of Perth. It has no relationship to Pride WA. The Australian Christian Lobby has thrown their support behind Basil Zemplis campaigning for him to become the next member for Churchlands. Amongst the policy and issues published by the Australian Christian Lobby are numerous transphobic statements. Furthermore, flyers recently distributed by the ACL claim that self-sex identification compromises birth certificates and passports, puts women's sport and spaces at risk, and threatens safety in public toilets and change rooms. Mr Zemplis has not confirmed or denied welcoming the endorsement from the ACL and whether he agrees with their published propositions. Although on leave, Mr Zemplis is still Lord Mayor of the City of Perth, and any association with the ACL's transphobic rhetoric reflects poorly on the City and his fellow councillors. Does the situation undermine the commitment of the City to the LGBTQIA+ plan? Will the City reaffirm its commitment to the LGBTQIA+ community by issuing a public statement that distances itself and the councillors from the transphobic organisation that has endorsed Mr Zemplis? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your second question, Gregory, and I apologise for missing it. I'll own that one. I'll pass that through to the CEO to reply.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. Could I invite the General Manager, Community Development, to respond, please?
Thank you. Through the Deputy Lord Mayor, the City's commitment to the City's second LGBTQIA+ plan, as endorsed by Council in October 2024, remains unchanged. The state government candidacy of Mr Zemplis is a private matter and it does not impact the City of Perth's policies or commitments, and as such, the City will not be issuing a statement on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, GM. Okay, so in accordance with the Local Government Administration Regulations 1996, as the person presiding at this meeting, I can confirm that members of the public have been given equal and fair opportunity to ask questions as provided for in the Standing Orders Local Law. In addition, information is available on the City's website regarding public question time. And with that, we'll now thank you all for your time and efforts to come to the council tonight. It is, it's a big thing, and thank you very much for your fantastic questions. Moving on to item 7, which is the confirmation of minutes. Will somebody please move the following motion to confirm the minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting held on the 10th of December 2024 as a true and accurate record? Councillor Bevan, can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Gobbett. The motion being unopposed, I now declare that it's carried unanimously. Item 8, questions by members given which due notice has been given. There have been no questions received. Item 9, correspondence. No correspondence has been received. Item 10, petitions. No petitions have been received. And before we move on to the reports, the following items have been identified to be moved en bloc. I'll read those items out. Please bear with me. 15.1 is the monthly financial statements for December 2024. 15.2, scheduled of accounts paid for December 2024. 15.4, the corporate business plan for the period of 2024-25 to 27-28. that will be the quarterly progress report. 17.3, the revocation of the Council Policy 1.4, recordings and live streaming of meetings of Council. 20.7 is the CEO Key Performance Indicator Update Report for the second quarter 2024-2025, 1st of October to the 31st of December 2024. Do any elected members wish to extract any of these items I've listed for the en bloc motion? I will now move a motion that those items will be dealt with en bloc. Can I get a seconder for that motion? Councillor Bevan, thank you. This motion being unopposed, or do any members oppose this motion? This motion being unopposed, I now declare it carried unanimously. The recommendations of these items have now been passed en bloc in accordance with Clause 9.2 of the City of Perth Standing Orders Local Law 2009. And the officer and/or committee recommendations have now been adopted by Council. Thank you very much. Now we will be moving through to items of the reports extracted for debate. We've got, this is going to be an interesting one, so please again bear with me. I still have my trainer wheels on and I'll be relying heavily on Charlie to hold my hand through this. 11.1, which is the 28/42 Ventnor Ave, West Perth proposed wall sign DA 2024/5471. Can I have someone? I will actually move the officer's recommendation. Can I have a seconder? All right. Actually, before we do that, Councillor Wellard does have a financial interest, so he'll be required to leave the chamber. Thank you, Councillor Wellard. Okay, so I will move the officer's recommendation. Can I please have a seconder? Councillor Gobbard, thank you very much. I wish to move, okay, so now I will speak to the item. I wish to move an alternate motion shown on the screen and foreshadow the officer's recommendation in the event that my alternate motion is lost. Now, will the seconder, is that, I speak to it. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Gonsalves, thank you very much. So my alternate motion is as follows: that the Council, in accordance with the provisions of the City Planning Scheme Number 2, the Metropolitan Region Scheme and the Planning and Development (Local Planning Scheme) Regulations 2015, deemed provisions for local planning schemes, approve the application for the wall signage at 2842 Lot 101, Ventnor Ave, West Perth, as indicated on the Metropolitan Region Scheme Form 1 dated 17th of December 2024. And as per the plans received on the 7th of January 2025, subject to these conditions: that prior to the installation of the wall sign, a sign management plan shall be submitted for approval by the City. The sign management plan shall include the following: A, final details of the design of the sign, including the style, type and placement of the sign. B, duration and frequency of the change of the content of the sign. C, proposed parameters to guide change in content to the sign, including the type of images and wording to be used. D, confirmation that no change in content will include third-party advertising content. E, maintenance of the sign. And F, the approved management plan being implemented by the operator thereafter to the satisfaction of the City. The approved wall sign having a limited approval period of 3 years from the date of this approval, with the sign being removed, and the affected area made good within 30 days of the expiry date to the satisfaction of the City. Can I have a seconder to the motion? Sorry, Councillor Gonsalves, the seconder, would you like to speak to the motion?
Nothing further to add.
Would anyone else like to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Gobbard.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor, and I will open by foreshadowing the officer's recommendation. When Council determined the signs policy, there was some wriggle room built in under the exceptional circumstances criteria to allow for flexibility. The policy requires that all of the criteria must be met in order to obtain an approval. The applicant in their deputation referred to the briefing notes circulated to elected members, wherein they were assured it outlined why the application should be approved, but having read the applicant's briefing note, I don't think it does that at all. There was a lot of jargon. It didn't really provide any justification as to the supposed planning merits. The applicant has stated that the proposed sign increase does not conflict with the objectives of the local planning policy signs, then describes the building's uniqueness as justification for a larger sign. This is in despite of the factors that make it unique having nothing to do with the size requirements of the policy. And of course, every building is unique, and that's why we do site-specific assessments. Under lines 16 and 17 in the officer's report, it quite clearly states 20 square metres or 25%, whichever is the lesser, as the measure of why the DA does not meet the objectives and is therefore non-compliant. It exceeds the size restriction by 88 square metres. That is not a minor encroachment to allow for some architectural feature or minor protrusion. It is excessive and therefore contributes to the impact on the local amenity. Under lines 28 and 27, the officers quite rightly point out the overall scale of the sign visually dominates the wall, and the size of the proposed sign is inappropriate for its location, having regard to the objectives of the policy. There's nothing overtly complex about this DA. The size requirement is spelled out in pretty black and white. The policy has been through the ringer and is a good tool to prevent the proliferation of advertising signage. I'm not at all satisfied that the applicants have provided sufficient justification to support the proposal. Requesting that a DA be heard by council over something that should be very obvious to any planner as to the reasons for refusal, in my view, Deputy Lord Mayor, this has quite frankly been an abuse of this process. I personally regard calling in an application as a sign that there is some sort of grievance, that there has been a failing of the planning framework, or some potential shortcoming through the assessment. I couldn't find any evidence that that has occurred here. I've churned out my fair share of signage DAs in my time, and I'll say from personal experience, this has been a pretty textbook run-of-the-mill assessment. There's nothing wrong with it. If you're not budging on the size, then the refusal is warranted. I would caution every planner and elected member in this room, don't let the planning framework descend into a boy who cried wolf situation. The more low-level DAs like this that council spends its time on erodes my personal confidence that there could be situations down the track that do warrant council intervention. So with that, Lord Mayor, I will be voting against the motion and, as I said, foreshadowing the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. That is absolutely fine. Would anyone else like to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Bevan.
I'd like to speak for it. I have to admit my views are the opposite to Councillor Gobbett. The song goes bright lights, big city. So if you compare us to Manhattan, Singapore, Sydney, does it mean that we're just not big enough to be a city of light? Those cities are vibrant. They've got a lot of vitality, a lot of lights which make them very, very colourful. And I see that as an attraction to those cities, and I think it's an attraction to this city when we eventually grow up.
Anyone else like to speak for or against? Councillor Lisa.
Thank you, through the chair. I believe this application presents a unique situation where some flexibility is warranted. A site visit confirmed that the proposed sign's placement, well back from the street and partially obscured by existing trees, will significantly mitigate any visual impact on the surrounding neighbourhood. I also appreciate the applicant's intention to regularly update the sign's message to reflect different seasons and different community events. Whilst I respect the existing signage policy, I believe there's room for flexibility in specific circumstances. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, approving this alternative sends a clear and positive message. The City of Perth is committed to supporting our local businesses and prepared to work with them, demonstrating flexibility when the situation merits it. I urge you to support this alternate motion.
Thank you, Councillor. Would anyone else like to speak for or against? Okay, with that, I will close. And again, thank you for everyone's contributions. I too acknowledge the City's intent to maintain a well-planned and visually cohesive streetscape in West Perth, or in our city. However, I also believe that signage plays a critical role in adding vibrancy, identity and historical character to a city. For instance, when you look at old photographs of of old photographs, signage is often an integral part of a streetscape, reflecting on the commercial energy and the cultural identity of the time. We also reflect on what is being advertised and the design of the advertising. When we visit cities, again, signage plays a huge role in the way that city looks. There is a view that signage can create visual clutter, and I do understand that. However, I refuse to think that a blank canvas looks better than something that's well designed and interesting to look at. We approved our signage policy last year with one area, and one area we purposely had placed in that policy was the intent for consideration based on merit. The key consideration in this case, in regards to scale, is the building is set back 45 metres from Richardson Street, which reduces the visual impact of signage from the street. For instance, if you look at a postage stamp this close, it's quite large. If you look at it from over there, you can't see it. The proposed sign, though larger than the 40 square metres, is still well below the 25% of the building's northern facade. The applicant has proposed a temporary approval for 3 years, ensuring that if any unforeseen negative impacts arise, they can be addressed in the long-term future. Also, the vibrancy and economic contribution to be considered. Large signs contribute to a dynamic and engaging streetscape, and this is not a residential precinct where excessive signage might be intrusive. It is a commercial area where well-designed signage can enhance the identity and wayfinding. Precedents and policy flexibility. The exceptional circumstance pathway in our policy that exists precisely for situations where a larger sign can be appropriate due to the building design and its setback from the street. This approval would not set a broad precedent for each case should it be assessed individually. Okay, so with that, I will call for votes on the motion. Those who are for, Councillor Bevan, Councillor Doshi, Councillor Coe, and myself. Those against? Yes, sorry, I thought I said you first, sorry about that. Those against? Councillor Gonsalves. Those against? Councillor Gobbett. I declare that the result on the amendment passed. So now we'll go back to the original motion.
Point of order, Deputy Lord Mayor. Under Standing Order 8.2, I need to bring to your attention the potential breach of a written law, that being the Planning and Development Local Planning Scheme Regulations 2015, Schedule 2, Part 9, Clause 67, G and N, as the officer's report contains substantial information that the policy did not support the approval of this development application. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just refer to governance for a little bit of guidance. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Councillor Gobbett. In regards to your point of order at 8.2, can you please advise how you propose we address?
Don't believe it's up to me to do that, Deputy Lord Mayor. It's just bringing to your attention under the standing order.
All right, thank you. Noted. So with that, we'll move on to the next item. And can someone please invite Councillor Wellard back to the chamber? Welcome back, Councillor Wellard. So we move to 11.2, which is item for consideration 190 and 200, St George's Terrace, Perth. proposed digital signage, wall sign, third-party advertising content on DA/2024/5311. Would anyone like to move this recommendation? Councillor Gobbard. Would anyone like to second the recommendation? Councillor Doshi, thank you. Would the mover like to speak to the recommendation?
No, thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor.
Would the seconder like to speak? Okay. So would anyone like to speak against the recommendation? Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. I see this as a large blank canvas right in the centre of the city. This sign would give vibrancy, vitality, and brighten the lights of the area around this part of the city. And I support the recommendation that we should, rather. I disagree with the recommendation that we refuse it, and I believe that we should allow it.
Thank you, Councillor. Would anyone else like to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Gobbett, back to you.
Don't wish to close, Deputy Lord Mayor.
Thank you. So I'll put that motion to vote. Can I please call for those who are for the motion? Councillor Gobbett, Councillor Wellard, Councillor Leeser and myself. Those who are against? Councillor Bevan, Councillor Doshi, Councillor Coe and Councillor Gonsalves. Okay, here we go. So I exercise my right for, how do I word that? For the casting vote. So I will declare that motion put. Thank you for your carried.
Can I just get a clarification that the motion has been carried or put?
Sorry, the motion has been carried. Item 12, Community Development Alliance reports, which we have nil. Item 13, Infrastructure and Operation Alliance reports, which we have nil. Item 14, Commercial Service Alliance reports. 14.1, City of Perth Parking Fee Review. I will move the recommendation. Can I have a seconder? We'll rush to that's be Councillor Leeser. Thank you. I wish to move the amended motion as seen on screen. The amendment that I'd like to make, which is point 2, to maintain the city's free night public promotion of all street car parks, subject to a comprehensive review being presented to the Council for further review following the end of 2025. Can I have a seconder? So that is lapsed for want of a seconder. So if we go back to the offer's recommendation, can I have a mover? And a seconder, which we have. The seconder, would you like to speak?
I would like to raise my amended motion.
Fine. Can I have a seconder for the amended motion, please? For the one that is on screen. I'm happy to second it. Please proceed.
Hold on. Yep, got it. Through the chair, my amended motion is to maintain for point 2, to maintain the city's free parking, night parking, but starting from 7 p.m, effective from the 31st of March, subject to completion of the statutory local public notice provisions. And the reason I raise this is, while I acknowledge the increasing costs associated with maintaining our parking infrastructure, I firmly believe that implementing a night parking fee would be detrimental to our city's vibrant nighttime economy and would place undue burden on our residents and businesses. Firstly, we must consider the current cost of living pressures facing our community. Many residents are already struggling with rising expenses, and introducing a parking fee, however seemingly small, adds another financial hurdle to their daily lives. For families and individuals looking to enjoy a meal out, attend a performance, or support local businesses, this fee acts as a disincentive. We should be actively seeking ways to alleviate financial strain, not exacerbate it. Secondly, our local restaurants and entertainment venues rely heavily on evening patronage. Free parking is a significant drawcard for our customers, particularly in the current economic climate. By removing this incentive, we risk driving patrons away, potentially leading to reduced revenue and even closures for these businesses. This directly contradicts our stated goal of fostering a thriving and dynamic city. Thirdly, we must be mindful of the competitive landscape. Neighbouring local governments offer free night parking options. Introducing a fee would place the city at a disadvantage, potentially diverting customers and visitors to other areas. We must strive to remain competitive and attractive to those seeking an enjoyable night out. It's undeniable that the costs associated with supplying and maintaining parking infrastructure are rising. However, I believe that the long-term benefits of a vibrant and thriving nighttime economy far outweigh the short-term financial gains from a parking fee. By prioritising the stimulation of our nighttime economy through free parking, we send a clear message that City of Perth is committed to supporting our residents, businesses, and the cultural vibrancy of our city.
Thank you, Councillor Leeser. I'm the seconder and I don't wish to speak further on the item. Would anyone like to speak for or against Councillor Leeser's amendment?
I wish to speak against Deputy Lord Mayor.
Sure.
Who's going to pay the financial shortfall that we have here? The answer is the ratepayers are going to pay. Now, these figures add up to something like $4 million we're going to generate from a $5 parking fee. This is $4 million, so our ratepayers will pay an additional 2% higher rates, and with a projected 3.5%, that means we'll be charging probably 5.5 plus rates to our ratepayers. Also, if it's free, to provide events in the city and provide incentives to vitalise our city, like Christmas lights, Christmas nativity, Christmas pageant, lightscape, Plateful Perth, all of these things that we do to vitalise our city and our businesses, we will be finding it very hard to finance these items. For $5, after 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., 12 hours, parkers get a closed parking area close to the destination, undercover with security. Private providers are charging 3 times to 6 times that fee for that same service. On-street parking is still free after 6 o'clock, and that helps businesses. Due to financial constraints, we have the cost of new technology, general upkeep, increase in wages, loss of car parking bays, and that is quite substantial to the city, and the parking levy. We need this fee to pay those bills. Since 2020, the free parking has helped revitalise our city. There's no argument about that, but I see that it has played its role. Now, Thursday to Friday nights, we are 85% full. And in fact, on many occasions, I've had to line up in front of car parks to try and get in. I've spoken to Mr. Mike Keeler of the very popular Mustang Bar, and his response was, it's time for the users to pay, not for the businesses, by way of increased rates. Mr. Jim Letus, a property owner with retail and hospitality outlets, said he was 100% a $5 fee. Ladies and gentlemen, I mentioned earlier the incentives that the city is using to generate the city, and I think we've done a very, very good job. I believe this $5 is something that we need to bring in. As far as people paying this, it won't even buy you a glass of Coke, almost full of ice. It won't buy you a latte with their $6. So it's such a small fee. I believe that certainly when it all adds up and goes back to the city, it's some $4 million. Councillors, rate increases on our businesses and residents is not what we need after all the efforts that we've made since 2020. Let the users pay a very small fee for our capital city to enjoy its hospitality. I think that this is something that's very important to our city, and we need to keep going with the incentives that we've got, and I don't believe that a $5 fee is going to make any difference to our attendances to the city for parking.
Thank you, Councillor Bevan. Would anyone else like to speak for or against? Councillor Doshi.
Thank you, through you, Dylan. I'm voting against this as a parent, and I have a young family. I think that the 7 p.m. free parking sort of threshold isn't suitable for young families. Young families go out and eat early, and you're still going to be paying up until 7 p.m. So there is still going to be a cost element involved. So on that basis, I feel that although 7 p.m. might be suitable for an older crowd, for the younger families who get to enjoy the city, they will still be paying parking. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Doshi. Would anyone else like to speak for or against the item? Councillor Gobbard.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor, and depending on how the vote goes, I will just formally foreshadow the officer's recommendation. Not entirely speaking in favour one way or another, but I will indicate that I will be voting against. And to foreshadow the officers, when we consider the overall quality of services that local government delivers, we have to do so based on a range of parameters: the yearly budget or our timing, our income streams and our overall expenditure, or the costs, and what projects and programs we want to deliver, like the Hay Street Two-Way or the Christmas Lights Trail. That's what we do deliver. That's the scope of what we do. I'd ask everyone to just keep in the back of your mind for a moment, humour me, that's the triangle, the time, cost and scope. When you change one, you have to affect the other. Each year we set the budget. That's limited by the financial year ahead. That's the time restriction. That doesn't change. But what does change are the schedule of fees and charges and the rates and the projects we deliver, so the costs and the scope of what we do. As per the long-term financial plan, there is a known scope of what we will need to deliver in terms of asset maintenance and new projects, including those largely coming up at Elizabeth Quay. There is a suite of statutory services like planning assessments we've seen tonight, building approvals, pool inspections, for example, the scope that we have to deliver. Then there is a range of services called discretionary services, like our social media team here at the city, the team that operate the library, Christmas lights that so many people enjoy. We don't have to deliver those, but they contribute to the functions of what makes a local area a great place to live. That's the scope of what we do, and it does change a bit each year. I have personally campaigned on sound financial management and to keep rates low. In order to meet obligations for our statutory delivery, the LTFP identifies a modest but minimal rate increase. That's something that has been advertised to the public. And in tandem with the planning strategy, we have a number of assets that are identified across the city to divest for their income and for future earning potential. One of those sites was the Queen's Gardens car park, worth $40 million and held freehold by the city. So when you take away the ability of the city to realise the long-term earnings from land sales and in rates, keeping in mind that a school doesn't pay rates, and remember the triangle, time, cost, scope, that massively affects the ability of our other two. If our income is affected as a direct result of the loss of those bays, that dictates in some way that either ratepayers will pay more in rates, that is across the board, residential, hotel, food and beverage, anyone, or there will be a massive reduction in service delivery. I'm focused on making Perth a much better place to live for our ratepayers. So when considering the implications of our rates calculation in conjunction with the services we deliver and the parking fees that contribute to one of the largest aspects of our income, it is the only logical outcome that to reduce the impact on our ratepayers that the parking fees have to return. So on that basis, Deputy Lord Mayor, I support the intent of what Councillor Leeser is proposing. But on the whole, I have to take advice from the administration on this, as they are best positioned to offer advice from the long-term financial plan, and I will be foreshadowing the officer's recommendation and voting against Councillor Leeser's motion.
Alrighty, thank you very much, Councillor Gobbett. Would anyone else like to speak for or against? Councillor Wellard.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. I'll be speaking against the motion. Free parking after 6 p.m. has been a great success to bring back nighttime trade to our city. It was the right response to the post-COVID pandemic downturn, and it's a credit to the council who were bold enough to implement it. On most nights, our city precincts are vibrant with a mix of entertainment, food and beverage venues filled with patrons. The city providing an almost constant calendar of events to ensure our city night scene is varied and of broad interest. The free nighttime parking was intended to be a short-term measure, one that we wound back eventually when we made sense, both economically and functionally, with the car parks full. Proudly, my common observation is the car parks are full most nights, although I've been reluctant to suggest that we remove the free after 6 p.m. initiative because of cost of living crisis that we currently see ourselves in. Unfortunately, the City of Perth has been hit with some significant financial headwinds, with the repossession and closure of a number of council car parks, 2 already and another 2 earmarked with yet to be announced closure dates. As councillors, we need to balance our responsibilities across a broad range of stakeholders. Of utmost priority are our residential and small business ratepayers, the lifeblood of our city. I'm concerned that if we maintain the free after 6 or 7 p.m. car parking initiative throughout 25-26, we'll be forced to increase council rates or significantly reduce our city-led events program to balance our budget. Strong leadership is knowing when tough decisions are required to ensure we provide a balanced, positive offering to our stakeholders. After lengthy consideration and consultation, I am rejecting this offer or this motion for free nighttime after 7 p.m. so that the city will be able to cover our current lost parking revenue and be better prepared for when the state government advises the next 2 car parks are to be closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wellard. And Councillor Bevan, can you turn your light off? Thank you very much. I'll ask Councillor Leeser if you'd like to close.
I just have some questions.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
The first question was, has this previously been proposed a year ago, and in what format? And what has a change to night parking, was that previously proposed? And when was that?
Thank you for the question. Through to you, CEO.
Thank you very much, Deputy Lord Mayor. I'll invite the General Manager, Commercial Services, to advise as to the submission that was made this time, roughly, last year in relation to fee increases, particularly in nighttime fees.
Thank you for the question through the Deputy Lord Mayor. Yes, it was last April a $5 flat fee was proposed.
And what prompted it to be raised 12 months on specifically? Because it has drawn some media attention, and obviously with the Lord Mayor, some saying having 1 foot out of the door, it is kind of curious, and it's been put to me, that the Lord Mayor Basil Zemplis is leaving us a black hole in our budget when it comes to our car parks. So just want to know the timeline of...
Councillor Gobbard, the debate needs to relate to the actual amendment.
So the question is the timeline of this being brought up during this particular time of change.
So, sorry, could you please clarify the question?
It's been reported in the media that council has been urged to look at this at the same time that the Lord Mayor
Sorry, mate. That's not a question, it's a statement. I'd like to know what your question is.
The question is this an annual review, or has this been prompted from other budgetary considerations?
Perfect. Thank you very much. Through to you, CEO.
And through to the General Manager, Commercial Services, please.
During the April OCM meeting, the Lord Mayor asked that this matter will be considered about 12 months on, so no later, bring it back to an OCM no later than April 2025 for a decision.
So just to clarify, we are 2-3 months early on this decision, according to the last resolution of council.
If I could clarify, and I'll ask the CFO maybe to give us a little bit further information. The city reviews its fees and charges annually. Often we set aside a dedicated paper as it relates to the parking business because it is such a significant element of our funding. So if I could invite our CFO to explain the benefit of bringing the paper back annually and at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Through the Deputy Lord Mayor, you're quite correct, CEO. This is an annual process, and the reason for doing this at this particular time has been driven to some extent by the forfeiture of existing car parks. However, why it's important to be doing this now is as we're moving into the heavy lifting, so to speak, of formulating our budget, we need certainty around what our revenue streams are. Council knows that parking is our second largest revenue stream. In the event that that is proposed to generate less money than we projected in the long-term financial plan, then as quite correctly has been pointed out by councillors earlier this evening, the offset is either a larger rates increase than was proposed, and if that, or cost cuts. For both of those courses of action, the earlier in the budget process that we have certainty, the better it is.
Any further questions?
One further question. Just want to clarify that our previous decision of council was to bring this back in April 2025, and that this has been brought forward due to budgetary considerations. I'd like that to be answered.
Through to you, CEO.
Thank you. So to restate what the CFO has said is, and I would need to take on notice the exact wording of the council decision, but at a time before April, in advance sufficiently that we can then formulate a budget response. Additionally, I think the CFO may have also mentioned that expectations around revenue from the 2 parcels of land which have been returned or have been provided to state government means our current 24-25 budget is already in shortfall of income that we were expecting. So the sooner we can resolve the issue, the better for the ratepayers of the city.
Thank you. And just for a further clarification, I'd like to add that it wasn't a decision, as the GM mentioned, by the LM to bring back to council by April. It was a council decision. And I refute the message that was put out in regards to the Lord Mayor leaving a black hole. The reason that the administration has brought this is because there is a hole in our budget which is associated with rising costs and loss of revenue via parking spaces that have been taken out of our control and out of our revenue raising opportunities. So it's a prudent opportunity for administration to be bringing something to council in order to fix that black hole. I noticed, Councillor Bevan, you'd like to
I have a question.
Thank you.
Deputy Lord Mayor, thank you. Could we have a more defined impact of this $5 fee on our rates in way of percentages, please?
Councillor Bevan, we did get a CBIM over the weekend which did actually have that broken down, but I will pass that through to the CEO who might like to answer that question.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. And so to clarify, so Councillor, are you asking that if the $5 increase was not agreed to by council, what the financial implications would be?
I'm saying that I mentioned earlier it was going to be a 2% increase in rates and potentially a 5.5 plus in total of rates. Can I just have, is that reasonably accurate according to our administration?
Thank you. And through the Deputy Lord Mayor, if I could ask the CFO to confirm the financial implications. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Through the Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Bevan, your summary of the financial impact was spot on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bevan. Any further
Thank you.
questions? Are any further questions for or against this amended motion? Debate this motion. I would pass back to Councillor Leza to close her debate.
Thank you. Through the chair. It's not lost on me that this is the first ordinary council meeting where the Lord Mayor is not presiding and we're discussing parking. I supported free parking at night years ago and again last year, and I continue to fight for free parking in the city at night. We have all heard the Lord Mayor in this chamber say favourable comments about nighttime free parking, and he often says that that's the most comments he ever hears from people. And this is a common comment to me from ratepayers and visitors alike. Until we have more people living in the city, attracting people in with good value parking is critical to our nighttime economy. We know our economic figures are tracking well, and part of the reason is the free nighttime parking. We are in a cost of living crisis, and incremental parking costs hurt all of us and can hit families especially hard. But the biggest reason is this: people have a choice of where to go for dinner or a movie. During the day, people must come to the city for work or for meetings or for education or for seminars. But at night, people have a choice of many different locations. I really don't want parking fees to be a disincentive to enjoy all that the city has to offer at night. Therefore, I urge my fellow councillors to vote for my amendment and to maintain free nighttime parking starting from 7 p.m. Let us continue to build a city that is accessible, affordable and enjoyable for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Leza. So now what we'll do is we'll put that amendment motion to the vote. Those for the motion, Councillor Leza, myself, Councillor Gonsalves. Those against the motion, Councillor Gobbett, Councillor Wellard, Councillor Bevan and Councillor Doshi. So the debate has been lost. Oh, sorry. And Councillor Coe, missed you there. Yes, so the amendment is lost. So we go back to the original motion. The original motion, I moved it and Councillor Leza seconded it. I will quickly speak for that motion. And effectively, we all acknowledge that free parking initiative has been highly successful. However, we must also recognise that rising costs associated with parking services, combined with the loss of nearly 1,000 paid bays from our revenue, mainly to the loss of the bays to our government, will result in a projected shortfall of $3.9 million in the 25-26 budget. Purely from a financial standpoint, we need to find ways to balance this shortfall. The primary levers available are increasing rates or adjusting parking fees. The recommendation for modest rates of 50 cents to $1 will generate an additional, and with the $5 flat overnight fee, will not only recover $3.9 million, but will generate an additional surplus of $2.3 million. My proposed amendment was effectively having a two-step process. That was lost. I accept that, and with that, I would like to ask if the seconder would like to speak for the motion.
No, I've said everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak for or against the motion?
I'll take that opportunity.
Thank you, Councillor Godshouse. Please go ahead.
Thanks. While a lot of discussion has been had about night parking, and it should rightly be so, this recommendation also includes recommendation 3 to amend and adopt the change in schedule of fees relating to electric vehicle charging. And I have to say I'm a bit disappointed that that's combined all in one recommendation rather than separate for us to consider, because there is a lot to consider in this space of electric vehicle charging. We're given very little information regarding to that, but it has been discussed before, And I have put to the administration that the use of 11 kilowatt and 22 kilowatt charging infrastructure is not considered fast charging, and I believe that has been the overwhelming response from feedback that we've received. I note there that we're charging 0.45 cents per kilowatt hour, and I want to note that that's significantly more than the standard household rate that you'd get from charging at home. And it's also a real discrepancy compared to other councils like the City of Vincent, which are providing the same and if not faster charging infrastructure at either lower rates or entirely free. As was mentioned before, when it comes to the city competing with other destinations, it's important to note that shopping centres like Karrinyup provide free parking at extremely fast charging speeds for free, and how you can't get better than that. And we're trying to compete for those same people to come to the city, to shop in the city, to visit the city, to eat out in the city, and yet we're having destinations like shopping centres who are out competing us when it comes to our infrastructure. I would put that for us as council, it's important for us to advocate to make that this city provides world-class infrastructure that's on the leading edge, and because of that, I don't believe that what's included at that 45-cent rate is appropriate. And the reason why I brought up that I'm disappointed that it's included all as part of one, because we could have had a real opportunity to discuss this, to defer it. But now that it's included all as one, it makes it a lot harder just procedurally. So I'll be voting against the overall recommendation.
Okay, thank you very much for that point. Well made. Would anyone else like to speak for or against?
Just a question, Deputy Lord Mayor.
I was going to actually say Councillor Bevan, so don't.
Can we have a point of clarification on that? Because I understand there are some actions that Councillor Goncalves could take with regard to item 3. If we'd have some advice on that, please, from governance.
Okay, so with clarification, we can request that the motion is split into 3, if that is something that council would like to consider. Someone has to request it.
Well, I'm suggesting that the councillor should do that if he's passionate enough about the charging, and that's an opportunity to have his will put to the vote.
Sure, I'm happy to move that if there's a seconder for it.
Yep, that's fine. So that's just a request. So now dealing with that, how do we deal with that now? Sorry, guys, give us a second.
So we're going to split the recommendation into 3 separate motions.
Okay, so that's fine. We can split that recommendation into 3 separate motions. We already have a mover and a seconder. It will stay the same for each. Thank you. So with that, is there anyone else who would like to speak for or against? Councillor Gobbett.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. And I may not get the exact wording right, but I believe Councillor Gonsalves made a reference to whether or not elected members had been given an opportunity to review and discuss. Can I just seek clarification? Have elected members indeed been given ample opportunity to discuss this item before it came to council for a decision in this forum? And is the CEO able to, I appreciate this is off the top of the head, but detail the number of or an approximation of the number of briefing notes and elected member engagement sessions that we have received on this item?
Just a point of order. I think it's been made that I was saying that there wasn't. I was saying that there was ample opportunity.
Just with that, it's not a valid point of order. Through to the CEO to answer the question.
Thank you. If I could invite the General Manager, Corporate Commercial Services to outline the communications as it relates to EV charging and EV matters more broadly. Thank you.
Through you, Deputy Lord Mayor. There's been a number of elected member engagement sessions generally on EV charging. We had one recently which encompassed the decision around the 45 cents that was done in the beginning of February 2025 that actually spoke to where the 45 cents came from and the makeup and the break-even approach that the council's adopting.
Thank you, GM. Would anyone else like to speak for or against? Councillor Bevan.
I'd like to speak against item 3. Firstly, the information we're running on is 5 years old. 22 kilowatts charging is decidedly slow. Now they're looking through Europe and the rest of Australia and the city of Perth at 200 plus. And at that rate, people can charge up their vehicles. At 22, it takes up to 5 hours to recharge. At 150 kilowatts, it takes 20 minutes to 25 minutes. At 350, it takes 15 to 20 minutes. So it makes what we're offering very, very poor. And there are other people offering the same service that we are, the very slow service. The City of Ensign is providing that service free. So is the City of Wanneroo. So is the City of Melville. And so is the Floreat Beach, town of Cambridge. They're charging 28 cents. And then you're going to shopping centres that are providing a better service, and they're charging 45 cents to do something in 15 minutes. So they're providing a much better service, and I just believe that we should be offering something that we can be proud of and provide a real effective service to the community, and it would be a much better business proposition.
Thank you, Councillor Bevan. If you please turn off your light. CEO, could you please can I have a response to the issues regarding costs?
Yes, if I could invite the General Manager, Commercial Services to explain the rationale as to the decision that was taken with the current charging arrangements. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Lord Mayor. May I sort of remind councillors that the installation has already occurred. So I don't think we're now debating whether it should be level 2 or level 3 charges. But I'll remind everybody, as we've had at our briefings, the rationale behind the level 2 versus the level 3 charges. We only had a limited amount of funding. So we had about 150,000 to try and deliver what we could. And the rationale is that we put it in multiple locations as a trial. The 150,000 would have enabled 1 or maybe 2 rapid level 3 charges, whereas we've managed to achieve 7 locations with a level 2 22 kilowatt chargers. Now they are centred mainly around residential premises, and the level 2 22 kilowatt chargers are considered to be appropriate by the industry for those types of uses. We're not trying to compete in shopping centre locations. We can, in the future, once we get the data, we can make some informed decisions about where we take the business next, and that could well be that we install some level 3 chargers. But that's the context, that's the history. It's to say a limited amount of funding that we had, and we wanted to try and trial a number of different sites to see what the appetite and demand was going to be from the market. We couldn't do that without running a trial. If we'd have run 1 level 3 rapid charger in the city, we would have gained very little insights from that to where we wanted to take the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, GM. Are there any more questions for or against? How much fun is this, guys? Wow. Okay. Just for some clarity, I'd like to mention that we are debating on the offerer's recommendation as a whole, but we will be voting on each item separately. So with that, we will go to the vote on item 1, which is that the council approves the amendment of the adopted 24-25 schedule of fees and charges to increase parking fees effectively from the 31st of March 2025 as outlined in attachment A, subject to the completion of the statutory local public notices provisions. Those who are voting for: Councillor Gobbart, Councillor Wellard, Councillor Bevan, Councillor Doshi, Councillor Leza, Councillor Coe and myself. Those who are against: Councillor Gonsalves. I declare that passed. Carried. To remove item 2 is to remove the city's free parking promotion and introduce a $5 flat fee from 6 p.m. in all off-street car parks effective from the 31st of March 2025, subject to the completion of the statutory local public notice provisions. Those for: Councillor Gobbart, Councillor Wellard, Councillor Bevan, Councillor Doshi, Councillor Coe. Those against: Councillor Leza, Councillor Gonsalves, Councillor Reynolds. I announce that motion number 2 has been carried. And for item number 3, to amend the adopted 24-25 schedule of fees and charges to include electric vehicle charging fees effective on the 31st of March 2025, subject for completion for the statutory local public notices provisions. Those for: Councillor Gollard, Councillor Wellard, Councillor Bevan, Councillor Doshi, Councillor Coe, Councillor Leza, Councillor Reynolds. Those against: Councillor Councillor Gonsalves. I declare that motion carried. Thank you very much. That was fun. Okay. So now we move on to item 15.3, the monthly financial statement for December 2024. 15.1 was moved en bloc. 15.2, schedule of accounts paid December 2024, that was moved en bloc. 15.3, the mid-year statutory budget review, it's been extracted for debate. Would anyone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Leza, would anyone like to second it? Thank you. Councillor Bevan. We will put, would anyone like to speak for or against the motion? No, thank you. We'll vote those who are for the motion. That is unanimous and carried. Thank you very much. 15.4, the Corporate Business Plan 24-25 to 27-28, the Quarterly Progress Report 2, that has been voted for and carried on block. 16, Engagement and Activation Alliance Report. 16.1, Major Leveraging Opportunity of 2025 Lightscapes. Can I please have someone who would like to move the motion? Councillor Wellard. Can I please have someone to second the motion? Councillor Leza. I will also announce that Councillor Liam Govett does have an impartiality interest, but he is still able to vote. So let's put that motion to the vote. Would anyone like to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Wellard.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. I'd just like to say that this event has been a fantastic event in previous years, with the City of Perth being a presenting partner. It has gained momentum and confidence over those years, and I think for us moving to be a major partner in the coming year is a sensible move for our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak for or against?
So thanks, Deputy Lord Mayor. So I am actually for the event, but I am a bit disappointed that ratepayers themselves that reside in the city have not been able to get a concession rate for admission to this event. But overall, still support the event, and I'm happy to vote on it. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Leza, as a seconder, would you like to speak?
No, thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak for or against the motion? Okay, let's move that motion.
I would like to speak for the motion. I agree with the Councillor Wellard here that it is a great event, and I'd like to see that really we could have paid more to assist this, because they do a lot of good for the city, a lot of good for hospitality. People are coming before and coming to restaurants after, and I believe that it's been very good for the vitality of the city and introduces a lot of people from around Perth into Kings Park, which once again is very important. So I would like to see more, a larger sum given towards this event, but I guess that I haven't got the support to do that. But thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak for or against? Councillor Wellard, would you like to close the debate?
No more to say, Deputy Lord Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's put to the vote. Can I please call for votes for the motion, please? That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. 16.2, the 2024-25 Heritage Conservation Grant Council report. We have some interest to declare. Councillor Leeser has an indirect financial proximity and impartiality interest and is required to leave the chamber. I have a proximity interest and I am required to leave the chamber. Councillor Raj Doshi has a direct financial interest and is required to leave the chamber. So with that, I'll ask for our Deputy, Councillor Gobbart, to please proceed and take the chair.
Great, thank you. I'm just confirming the doors are closed. So I will move the officer's recommendation under 16.2 in the agenda. Seek a seconder for the recommendation. Seconded, Councillor Bevan. I don't wish to speak. Councillor Bevan, did you wish to speak? No.
No, thank you.
Speakers for?
Thanks. I'll just have a question.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Just because we haven't been in this situation before, I just wanted to check that we still have quorum and the processes around that.
We do have quorum. Any other questions? Great. Speakers for? Speakers against? I'll put the motion. Those for? Carried unanimously. Please invite the fellow councillors and the Deputy Lord Mayor back in.
Okay, item 17 is the Chief Executive Officer Alliance reports. 17.1 is the local law review, adoption of amended local law and waste local law. Could I please have someone to move the recommendation? Councillor Gobbart, can I please have a seconder? Councillor Doshi, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Councillor Doshi? Let's put that to the vote. Those for the motion? That is carried unanimous. We move to 17.2, considerations of decisions from the Electors' General Meeting, the 28th of January 2025. Can I have someone who would like to, who is for the recommendation?
So, Deputy Lord Mayor, I've previously circulated an alternate motion for this one.
All right, cool. All right. Thank you, Councillor Gobbart. Can I, before I have someone to second that motion, Councillor Doshi, can I please have you removed regarding a direct financial interest? Removed immediately. We'll also note Councillor Gobbart does have an impartiality interest, but is able to remain in chamber and vote. And Councillor Gonsalves has also announced an impartiality interest, but is able to stay in the chamber. And Councillor Wellard has announced an impartiality interest. Can I please have someone to second the amendment? Councillor Bevan, thank you very much. Would you like to speak to the amendment, please?
Sure, thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. Just in really brief to the specific of the amendment, it is to item 11 on decision 10 under part B, just for the public record, those playing at home. Although I don't believe it is the right time for us to be undertaking significant capital works ahead of consideration of the plan, I do wanted to acknowledge that I thought that it was a reasonable suggestion from a local resident, and if at all possible, that can be incorporated into the future design of the Riverfront Master Plan. I thought this was a good opportunity to acknowledge the idea and to incorporate that as the design progresses. And as I have stated previously in this chamber, the Master Plan is a evolving document, and so I look forward to seeing how we may be able to incorporate the uplighting of those trees if they are able to be retained or in any other aspects of the plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I just confirm that you have moved the officer's recommendation with the amendment, and Councillor Bevan, that is what you're seconding? Thank you very much. So now I just ask anyone else who would like to speak for or against. Councillor Bevan, would you like to speak to the amendment?
I've got nothing further to add other than to say that was well put by the councillor.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to speak for or against the amendment? Councillor Gobbert, would you like to close the debate? Thank you very much. So with that, let's put that to the vote. Those for the motion? That is unanimous and carried. So now what we'll do is we'll move back to the original. Okay, so thank you very much. That is now carried. Okay, welcome back, Councillor Doshi. 17.3, revocation of the Council Policy 1.4, recordings and live streaming of meetings of the Council. Would someone like to move the recommendation? Oh, sorry, I'll take that back. That has actually already been moved on block. Missed that. Item 18, which is committee reports, of which we've received nil. Item 19, motions of which notice has been given. Item 19.1, notice of motion to modify the draft LPS 3 to allow for active street fronts in the neighbourhood centres. Can I please have someone for the... Councillor lost. Councillor Wellard has submitted a notion of motion regarding the draft from LPS 3 to allow for an active street front in neighbourhood centres. Councillor Wellard, can you please move your motion? Please reserve your reasons until the motion is open to debate.
Yes, Deputy Lord Mayor, I'd like to place this motion, please.
Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Doshi. So, Councillor Wellard, if you would like to provide your reasons for the motion.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. The current draft planning scheme does not allow for recreation private land use to face our neighbourhood centre streets. This requirement is restricting options to fill long-term vacancies and hinder the development of a sustainable nighttime economy. Allowing recreation private land use with a requirement for an active frontage should bring well-needed vibrancy and evening pedestrian traffic to our neighbourhood centres. The inclusion of active frontage to LPS 3 is considered to be a catalyst in building a sustainable nighttime economy in our outer neighbourhoods such as West Perth, East Perth and Claysbrook. For clarification, neighbourhood centre, our definition in the planning scheme says we're to provide a range of goods and services to support the neighbourhood's daily and weekly needs, and that generates activity day, night and weekend. That cultural and creative and office uses as well as residential needs and short-term accommodation are also supported. Moving this to category D means that the use is not permitted unless the local government has exercised its discretion by granting development approval. So therefore, any application that comes using this clause will have to come to the city for approval. Recreation private means a premise that are 1, used for indoor or outdoor leisure, amusement, recreations of sport, and 2, not usually open to the public without charge. So think gymnasiums, yoga, Pilates, stretch labs, pay-by-entry entertainment facilities, uses that will generate evening foot traffic, improve street safety, and encourage flow on hospitality offerings. Active shop fronts, by definition, is where a business that faces the street and engages with the public. It can include frequent windows and doors, minimal blank walls, and activities that encourage people to come into the building. In Melbourne, early adoption of active street frontage policy was influenced by Jean Gell, the same consultant the City of Perth has been engaging for many years now. Gell developed an evaluation scale grading frontages to identify features that contribute to a healthy street life. Healthy street life being open, active, permeable, and good quality materials. And then also looked at kill street life, those that were inactive, closed, flat building surfaces with little detail. Anybody who drives around our city can see that the city centres, particularly in West Perth, Claysbrook and East Perth, do tend to fall into that latter category. They need some life and activity. Our neighbourhood of West Perth Hay Street, East Perth Hay Street and Claysbrook Royal definitely needs some catalysts for positive change. This motion that I've been working on with the city since the day I was elected last year is designed to be one of those initial catalysts to turn kill streets into healthy, live neighbourhood centres. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wellard. Councillor Doshi, would you like to speak for?
Yes, I'd also like to support this really good motion that's come through from Councillor Wellard. In the East Perth precinct, especially for myself, it's always been a big issue, especially around the Royal Street area. But I believe that activating those frontages will obviously not only just help general foot flow and traffic with activation, but it also gives different businesses the opportunity where they may not always get that with terms of like the size, the square footage of larger footprints. Micro cafes, unique shops that don't need so much space but can still provide a massive service for the community. The usage will also, I think, help businesses work more collaboratively with each other and share that responsibility of activation on our dying high streets at the moment in our neighbourhoods. So I think that collaborative, those ideas, working with our neighbourhoods is going to be a really good, positive change if this motion does go through. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would now anyone else like to speak for or against? Councillor Bevan.
I would like to speak for, and well done to Councillor Wellard, and it's an excellent motion and well articulated by both councillors who spoke previously. But importantly, what are the timelines for this approval on this item?
Thank you. Through to the CEO.
Good question, Councillor. Sorry. If I could invite the General Manager, Planning and Sustainability to answer that. Thank you.
Through the Deputy Lord Mayor, as you can appreciate, the scheme is currently with the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage, and the state government is currently in a hiatus period leading up to the elections. So we expect we won't hear anything in the short term, but certainly hopeful that by mid-year we should have some feedback on the scheme, and any changes to the scheme can be put forward in that process.
Yes, Evan.
A question that there was no mention of time, because I think it's important that the people concerned have some idea of what the timelines might be.
Through the CEO.
I will invite the General Manager to see if some estimates could be provided.
Through the Deputy Lord Mayor, it's really out of our control. The timeframes are really nebulous at this point. So we can only estimate that we would get some feedback in this second quarter of this calendar year, but we can't guarantee it because it really depends on the state's assessment process and their response to the scheme, and also whether there's further changes that they are requesting of council in the process.
Thank you, GM. Any other questions for or against?
Yeah, just a question from me.
Councillor Gonsalves.
Through you, Deputy Lord Mayor. I realise that the scheme has already been submitted. So really, I just want to ask in terms of procedurally, if it's already been submitted, received by the state government, how do we somehow claw that back and resubmit? And does that present any problems or issues for us?
Through to you, CEO.
Thank you very much to the General Manager in Planning and Sustainability. Thank you.
Through the Deputy Lord Mayor, we've been in consultation with the department since we've submitted, and it'd be fair to say they still haven't really delved deep into the scheme proper, so they're not advanced in the assessment of the scheme as yet, which provides us an opportunity, should Council move this notice of motion, for us to write to the department formally and express this modification if required, and that will form part of the scheme consideration. Usually what happens is they come back to the city in any case with a number of questions or issues or clarifications before they then give us the approval, if you like, to go ahead with any advertising of the scheme.
Thank you, GM. Any more questions for or against? Councillor Lisa.
Not a question, just a support for the motion. Thank you, Chair. This week on my walks, I walked past a gym on Adelaide Terrace, I walked past a gym on Regal Place, I walked past a gym on Kensington Street. I, of course, or we all do, walk past the first floor gym on Murray Street Mall. And, you know, we know that gyms and Pilates and so on generally need fairly large floor plans, and I would much rather this be a use than have a property be vacant. So I'm supportive. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak for or against? Councillor Gobb.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor, and congratulate Councillor Wellard on what I believe is his first notice of motion in the chamber. We all remember our first, Councillor Wellard. Yes. It's a great initiative, and I wanted to thank him for his passion in actively seeking out and promoting initiatives to activate the neighbourhoods. Otherwise, it's all been said.
Thank you. Any more questions for or against? Councillor Wellard, would you like...
Sorry.
Councillor Gonsalves.
Thanks.
Nearly got through that one.
Yeah. And that is the topic of what I wanted to mention, was that just a degree of satisfaction and appreciation for Councillor Wellard's ability to navigate this, being able to make an amendment to something at the very last minute and be able to drive that forward for the benefit of the community is something to be commended. And it's not easy to get a notice of motion up, so I appreciate that.
Thank you, Councillor Gonsalves. You put that very well and probably took the words out of my mouth, so I don't need to speak further for it. Councillor Wellard, would you like to close?
Just a word of thanks to the council and the feedback we've had today. So I think is a great move forward for our neighbourhood centres that have needed a boost for quite a long period of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So with that, we will put the motion to the vote. Those who would like to vote for the motion, please indicate. That's unanimous. I declare that result is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, item 20 is matters for which the meeting may be closed. So moving on to item 20, the matters for which the meeting may be closed, we will now move behind the closed doors to consider confidential items 20.1, 0.2 and 20.3 in accordance with sections 5.23 brackets 2, A and D of the Local Government Act 1995. For that, the live stream will be paused. And I will please like to ask the gallery if they could vacate the chamber. Before we do that, sorry, I will move a motion to close the meeting to the public. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Doshi, thank you. And can I please ask the public gallery to vacate the chamber and for live stream to be paused?
Can we vote on that motion? Can we vote on that motion?
While the gallery is leaving, can we vote on the motion, please? Okay, thank you. That's Karen. Add that in for now on. Vote. Yeah. Well, at least the first 5, so I get in the rhythm of it. Go. Okay, can I please confirm live stream has been resumed? Okay. Moving on to item 20, urgent business. So moving on to item 20, urgent business, no items have been consented to being raised in accordance with clause 414 of the City of Perth Standing Orders Local Law. Item 21 is closure. There being no further business, I now declare the ordinary council meeting closed at 7:17. Thank you very much.
Please all rise for the Deputy Lord Mayor of Perth, Mr Bruce Reynolds.